come to celebrate 60 years of ECIAF in this, the University of Trinidad and Tobago's 10th anniversary. And therefore we ask you to please stand as Michelle Bristol delivers the national anthem of Trinidad and Tobago.
Forged from the love of liberty in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemnly declare. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea, this our native land. We pledge our lives to thee. Every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Please be seated. Thank you, Ms. Bristol, and thank you all who assisted in singing. It's always good for us to participate in the singing of the national anthem. At this time, Mr. Esmond Ramisa of the HSE department will give us the safety briefing.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Just a slight correction. My name is Esmond Andrews. I'm the HSC manager. Just pause a few moments to listen to this safety alert. In the event there is an emergency, an alarm will be sounded. You will be required to evacuate this tent as quickly but orderly as possible using the exits nearest to you. As you can see, exits are located at the north of the tent and also on the west of the tent. Proceed around the tent to our muster point, which is located just south of the tent in the Savannah area right there. If you are in the building and the alarm is sounded, you must exit using the exit nearest to you and also proceed to the muster point. At the muster point, we have our safety and security personnel who will guide you and give you further instructions. I'd also like to mention that we also have a registered medical nurse who is on campus to treat any medical emergencies that may arise. And also, finally, we have our washrooms located on my left, which is on the ground floor of the building, the forestry building, which is on my left. I want to thank you very much, and do enjoy the rest of today's proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. Esmond Andrews. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we ask you to stand once more as Ms. Rebecca Figaro, a Year 2 student, does for us the opening prayer.
A pleasant good morning to all. May we bow our heads in prayer this time. Dear God, we come before you today, thanking you for all that you have done for us. We thank you for health, strength, life, and all the many blessings you have granted to us today. We want to especially thank you, O God, for the students gathered here today, and for our leaders, teachers, and all those in authority. May they continue to be a good example to us that we can pattern our lives after. We ask, dear God, that you continue to help us to live together in peace, love, and harmony, having respect for one another and being our brother's keeper. Thank you, God, for bringing this institution, UTT ECIAF, thus far, and for your continuous blessing and success to all those past, present, and future students. Help us to strive for excellence in all our endeavors as we try to make life better for ourselves, our families, and this nation of Trinidad and Tobago. Amen.
Please be seated. And thank you for that lovely prayer. Mr. Kwesi Mutema, Deputy Chairman of the Board of Governors and members of the Board of Governors of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, Professor Diana Ryan-Singh, President of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Fazal Ali, Provost of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Puran Bridge Mohan, Program Leader, Biosciences, Agriculture and Food Technologies, all industry and stakeholder representatives, specially invited guests, staff and students of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is with pleasure that I serve you as orator for today's proceedings. I am Dr. Hazelan Gibbs de Pisa from the Corinth campus, and I take pride in inviting to the podium at this time Dr. Fazal Ali, Provost of the University, to deliver the welcoming remarks. Dr. Ali.
Mr. Kwesi Mutema, Deputy Chairman of the Board of Governors of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, distinguished members of the Board of Governors of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, Professor Diana Ryan-Singh, the President of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Puran Bridge Mohan, Program Leader, Biosciences, Agriculture and Food Technologies, professors, fellows and faculty of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, the University Orator, Dr. Hazel Ann Gibbs de Pisa, industry partners, stakeholders, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The Eastern Caribbean Institute of Agriculture and Forestry, ECIAF, was established in 1954 as a regional institution with grants from the Colonial Development and Welfare Scheme to undertake quality training for nationals of Trinidad and Tobago and the Eastern Caribbean states in the field of agriculture, forestry, and agriculture teacher education. ECIAF was envisioned for graduates to easily function productively in a farm environment because of the practical training component of the programs. The training offered at ECIAF was also meant to equip graduates for entrepreneurship or to fill whatever roles their home country would require. During its first 10 years, ECIAF was organized and administered as a regional institution and was supported financially by contributing governments, including Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and states of the Windward Islands and those states of the Leeward Islands. From 1964 to the present, the Institute has operated as a Trinidad and Tobago institution. This change, however, has never interfered with its regional character in relation to function and the student intake. In 1969, the scope of the institute was increased when the forestry school was added. Training was expanded from farming to include the emerging concerns regarding sound forestry management practices in the region. The addition of the School of Forestry was initiated by a 5-year project undertaken in 1968 by the Trinidad and Tobago government with assistance from the United Nations Development Program, the UNDP, and the Food and Agricultural Organization of the UN. The name of the institute was then changed from ECFI to ECIAF in order to reflect the fact that the institute was now offering forestry training. In 1983, the Agriculture Teacher Education Center, ATEC, was established. This new offering was a joint project of the Ministry of Agriculture, Land and Marine Resources, the Ministry of Education, and UNESCO. The main aim of ATEC was to improve pedagogy in agriculture science teachers at secondary schools in Trinidad and Tobago. In September 2006, ECIAF was integrated into the University of Trinidad and Tobago, the only national university. UTT's programs in biosciences, agriculture, and food technologies were launched on Monday, the 16th of May, 2011 at the UTT ECIAF campus. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Chancellor of the University of Trinidad and Tobago and our erudite President, Professor Dan Narain-Singh, I welcome all of you this morning and express our gratitude for your esteemed presence here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. How well I remember ECIAF of the early 70s, because it was part of the agri section of Mausica Teachers College and all the jaunts that we had between the two institutions in those days. So congratulations to ECIAF today. We're celebrating, and all protocols observed, we now invite Mr. Nugent Bernard, the Student Guild President, to bring us greetings.
Madam Chair, and with all protocol observed, when I was asked to bring these greetings on this occasion, I really didn't know what it is that I would say. So I met with the students, or the student body, and they would have advised me on the greetings that we hope to convey. And much of what was said, I cannot bring to this forum, which we'll bring to the table. But the views expressed here are the heart and soul of our students. However, we are delighted that we can participate in this 60th anniversary of ECIAF as a learning institution. However, even as we bring greetings and celebrate with her this milestone achievement, it would be folly of us if we fail to acknowledge the tremendous contributions that ECIAF has made over these many years. During her 60 years, ECIAF had nested and produced many outstanding job-ready graduates, many of whom now hold positions in governments, ministries, business organizations, and owners of their own businesses, not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but throughout the region. Many would recall the grand old days when ECIAF, through the efforts of staff, students, and employees, not only provided food for her children, but for buyers and consumers in Trinidad and Tobago. We must relive those good old days. Today, as the government of Trinidad and Tobago pushes towards national food security, sustainable agricultural development, ECIAF must be seen and positioned as the #1 option to play that pivotal role in this national building initiative. It will therefore be ill-fated of us as students and for anyone else to believe that ECIAF can continue or seriously move ahead into the challenging future on the basis of her past performances or reputation. There is therefore urgent need for us to revisit the mission and vision of ECIAF. Since as a student body, we believe that her present course is not consistent with the founding mission and vision. Therefore, we advocate that this 60-year of celebration must not be seen as a time for retirement, but as a moment for reflection. We must ask ourselves the question, where did we come from? Where are we at present? And where is it that we are going? We advocate beautification of our entire surrounding so that our home will be a welcoming environment to all. We cannot but help notice that the sign which bears the name of our greatness needs also to be beautified so that those who pass by would recognize the greatness in her name. Her children must feel confident and be confident that we are assets of our parent, and that she will provide us with the kind of training and discipline needed for the world of work, and that we are confident that at home we are securely sheltered and our needs are adequately looked after. We believe also that ECIAF must reposition herself as the food basket for all of UTT and for our neighbors and friends. We further believe that our theoretical training must match up to our practical experiences so that we maintain the objective for which was stated by Dr. Fazal Ali and which we know for which she was established. So as we celebrate 60 years with our mother, we urge her, focus on your passion, impact your future, change your world. Mom, we are proud of you. And I borrow in the words and spirit of one of the Caribbean's greatest leader, Maurice Bishop himself. ECIAF, forward on your knees. Forward on your feet, not on your knees. Long live ECIAF as a learning institution, long live the University of Trinidad and Tobago, the only national university.
Yes, let's hear it for the Guild President. Collaboration with students is an ideal and exemplary facet of student leadership. And we thank you, Mr. Bernard, for your reflective yet forward-looking and encouraging celebratory greetings. I now have the honor to invite to the podium to do the rededication presentation, Dr. Puran Bridge Mohan, Program Leader, Biosciences, Agriculture and Food Technologies here at ECIAF. Professor.
Good morning. It is usually a difficult task to follow my esteemed politician and my friend, the next and future Minister of Agriculture of Grenada. Let's give him a round of applause again. You know, we spend many hours arguing and discussing Caribbean development, Caribbean agriculture. And if I am to say about Mr. Nugent Bernard, he will follow in the footsteps of many great other students who passed through ECIAF and fulfill their role in Caribbean development, particularly agriculture. We salute you, my friend. Madam Chair, it is my privilege and my most singular privilege today and my most humbling opportunity for me at this juncture, the history of UTT and ECIAF, to be asked to do the rededication presentation. I hope I do justice to it. In the time given, 60 years is no short period of time, and I don't know how much time I have. You didn't tell me how much time I have, but I will try my best so that we keep it within the period. Mr. Kwasi Mutima, Deputy Chair of the Board of Governors at the University of Trinidad and Tobago, members of the Board of Governors, Professor Diana Ryan Singh, President, Professor Fazil Ali, Provost, other Vice Provosts, other Vice Presidents, specially invited guests, members of staff, students, and the media. I need at this point in time to recognize and to give special attention to Professor Sweet, who I don't think is here. Last year, when we took our fourth cohort of students for the bachelor's program, I indicated to the students that this year would be the 60th anniversary of ECIAF. And Professor Sweet said, that is something that you cannot allow to pass up. You must celebrate it. And he has been prodding me to have this big celebration, recognition awards, and etc. And I must also say the Board of Governors has been most supportive of this celebration, this grand celebration. And it's a year-long celebration of the university's 10th anniversary, but it'll be a full year and a little more for ECIAF's 60th anniversary. And I was told that I have to do the rededication. And we had a little discussion about what are we going to rededicate and why are we going to rededicate. Well, I will tell you there are 5 reasons now why ECIAF should be rededicating itself in its present scenario. Firstly, we need to understand the significant role that ECIAF has played in the agro-industrial development of the Caribbean. If I were to make a comparison between the Imperial College of Tropical Agriculture, now the Faculty of Agriculture at UWI, which about 56 years ago was the main training ground for graduate and postgraduate students out of Britain who were trained as managers and technicians to service the Commonwealth territories. Britain at that time were ruling production of raw materials for processing in Britain. 60 years ago, the Caribbean saw it fit to train their own people. Dr. Ali mentioned that we are celebrating 6 years. He went through a brief history, what happened. Caribbean agriculture development at ECIAF trained extension officers and skilled personnel and research, etc., to fill positions in the Caribbean. So while Britain was doing it for the Commonwealth, we had the fortunate opportunity to have youth ECIAF training personnel for Caribbean. We need to salute that and rededicate that. 60 years is what you call a diamond jubilee. I need not go into what diamonds are, the qualities and the preciousness and the hardness of diamond. You could figure that out. But we need to recognize the personnel who contributed to Caribbean development. We need to recognize students who would have passed here, graduated from here, and recognize their competence and reward their excellence. And today, if you look around in the Caribbean, still, we have people who are leaders and politicians graduating of this institution, executive managers, CEOs, leaders, scientists, researchers, teachers, educators, businessmen, processors, extension officers, agronomists, and veterinarians. We need, at this point in time in rededication, time for celebration, time for reflection, and time for strategic planning. While we need to recognize the achievement of the people and institution, we must also plan our purposeful role in agricultural education and industry. We need to review our critical strategic role in the new agriculture. BAFT, the Faculty of Biosciences, Agriculture and Food Technology, which was formerly ECIAF, is rooted in science and practical husbandry and embraces biotechnology. I am proud and privileged to be part of the leadership team of this institution at this period in its history, under the distinguished guidance and leadership of the President and Provost and the Board of Governors. And the fifth reason we need to celebrate and rededicate is that the ECIAF campus, which is now renamed the Agro-Entrepreneurial campus, is probably, and I think it is not probably, it is the most senior institution within the UTT family. It is the only campus that is a residential campus, which is outfitted with laboratories, modern laboratories, library, farm, greenhouses, and soon to be launched, a smart classroom. It is probably the one, or maybe the second institution that offers from the certificate program to the PhD. And we like to pride ourselves in that we are ready to serve from the farm to the table, both production and processing. So if I might take a little walk through our history. And my politician friend said the same words. Whence come we? Where are we now? Withering your course of direction. And for those of you who know where those words came from, might ask, what were the secrets of ECIAF that we need to retain into BAFT? And are those secrets still there, or are they lost? And how come they're lost? And we will help you to find them. Words to ponder upon. Great philosophical words coming out from the great wise men. Whence come we? The history of ECIAF was already highlighted, but I want to just draw to your attention 2 points. One, in 1954, we were called the Eastern Caribbean Farm Institute, and the F became forestry to replace by the word agriculture. So we became the Eastern Caribbean Institute of Agriculture and Forestry. And today we now call BAFT, which is after 60 years. Just a short trip down memory lane. We also like to welcome our former, I'm having difficulty with this. With our former visitors, this is forward and a backward. The former Governor General, Sir Hewart Rance, who would have been one of our visitors and who probably who would have opened this institution. And our training in those days, and still is based on practical training in a range of animal and crops. So we would have training in poultry and production, animal husbandry, dairy training and management. And for those students who say today that we're spending too much time on the farm, today, I want you to recognize on the upper slide that before you got a chance to actually milk by hand, you had to have a learner's permit to milk and practice before sunrise on a simulated udder. Today, you can milk by machinery. We were training people then into plantation crops, sugarcane, cocoa, coffee, bananas for export. We still do that today. We are training students in apiary management, and in fact, we are the home of the famous UTT honey. We were training students then to be self-sufficient in food production, and Brother Nugent spoke about most of the food that you would have eaten in the cafeteria or in the dining hall came from the farm. He still has a challenge for me to serve one meal per month from produce from the farm. He's still smiling. And so students who have graduated move on to big positions in the Caribbean. I want to deal with where are we now? Where are we today, BAFT, that institution within UTT? We are now called the Agro-Entrepreneurial Campus. What makes us different from any other campus that we have to be called the Agro-Entrepreneurial Campus? Just a quick review of the mission statement of ECIAF and UTT. In ECIAF in 1954, 60 years ago, we were improving the standard of living. We were training paraprofessionals to take up positions in the Caribbean. Today, we are an entrepreneurial university to discover, develop, commercialize, create jobs, and contribute to national development. I was challenged by the president about the strategic direction, and I want to assure the president that as a leading institution, agricultural institution in the Caribbean, we know where we want to go. We know very well how to get there. Sir, I could tell you, we will also know when we have arrived. I think we have now arrived to really carry the title to be rebranded the Agro-Entrepreneurial Campus. As was mentioned by Provost, we do offer a series of courses. We train students from the certificate program to the PhD program. What makes us different? Where are we now? We have made a paradigm shift. We have moved from training students to become public servants, agricultural officers, etc., to become agro-entrepreneurs. As I said, we are the only agro-entrepreneurial residential campus in the Caribbean. We have enhanced teaching environment, both in the classroom, in smart classrooms, but also we train our students in the normal way out in the field, hands-on. We have modern teaching and research facilities. We are training our students in new and appropriate technology. And as an institution, UTT has already been awarded 2 international grants from the European Union, one on the Caribbean Fine Cocoa Project and the other one on the Cocoa Pop, 2 projects that are being executed at the university. The second one, Cocoa Pop, at this very point in time, is being executed from the ECIAF campus. This institution has received competitive grants from BPTT for the Buffalosa project, which we are holding. We are the repository of the National Buffalosa herd. We are at this point in time doing collaborative research in wildlife, and I would now share with you that EMA with UTT and UWI is undertaking a wildlife survey in Trinidad and Tobago. The ECIAF campus, the forestry unit, teaches and conducts research in wildlife, and UTT and UWI will be jointly hosting the 2014 Symphona Conference. Hands-on experience. Outreach service to farmers. I was asked by the Chief Technical Officer in the Ministry of Agriculture, what's the difference between extension and outreach? And I had to explain to him the difference really is that in extension, you are going out there to train farmers. But UTT students with their professors are doing outreach. They go to the farm, they spend time, understand the farm, identify problems, work with the farmer, correct the problems, and improve his productivity. Big difference. UTT is engaged in outreach at many farms at this point in time, both in livestock and in crops. Our students receive a surplus of work experience. And I say surplus because they always complain they're doing too much. But there's never too much work experience from our students. We are producing farm-ready graduates. We are producing industry-ready graduates. Graduates who could become entrepreneurs. What makes us an entrepreneurial campus? The heart of this institution really is an Incubator Project. Most institutions at the end of the 3rd year of the 3-year degree have discovered that they needed to add an additional year for the students to be trained in incubators and to get practical experience. UTT program in agriculture and food science, the 3-year program embraces the incubator concept from year 1, and it goes on right until year 3. So by the time the student graduate, they have projects that are economically viable, that are financially viable, and they could execute it. And today we'll be recognizing incubators and incubator projects, and there's a room dedicated only for some of the incubator projects that you will see later on. That is where we are now. Withering your course of direction. And I purposely put a crop duster here, which is low flying and has a purpose, as opposed to my first slide with a donkey doing some draft. And the story with that is that we are still rooted in the ground. We are looking up at the sky, but we know where we are going. And Professor President, I can tell you, we will know when we have arrived. 60 years is a short time in the history of an institution. The new strategic direction of BAFT is how do we intend to reposition ourselves for the new agriculture of Trinidad and Tobago? That is, what are we doing differently? That makes us different. That will make us something that is not repetitive. what are we doing different? We will be offering postgraduate diploma courses and programs in a series of applied sciences and engineering. That is the people who already have the degree. For working people, paraprofessional people who are already engaged in the industry and who do not have the time to attend full-time classes, but who would also like to be certified, there's a range of courses. In fact, the first two, Game Wars and Wildlife, were courses requested by the Ministry of Forestry at that time for ECIAF to put on. And those will be accredited courses from ACTT. Blended learning. Blended learning and practical hands-on training for people in horticulture, landscaping, etc., who cannot attend classes full-time, but could attend face-to-face at short periods and do the rest of the courses at home, and could attend some workshops, will be given a number of certificates which eventually we could pull together for a diploma. Outreach. I think this institution will train every single extension officer in Trinidad and Tobago and probably the Caribbean, continues to conduct research and extension in appropriate and new technology for crop science, crop production, animal science. I will not speak much about incubators. There's a whole lot of stuff that comes out of incubators shortly. We are supporting urban agriculture. So that went too fast. And I particularly want to just mention biosolid crop production. In the news last week and previous to that, there was always talk about purification of the water at the Wassa, water from the plant, waste plant, that will be sent to Point Lisas for use industrial water. Nobody asks what's going to happen to the solid. Well, in fact, we have a graduate students who graduated from UTT with a master's in environmental science who have worked on biosolid. Will be pushing the use of biosolid as a media for crop production, which is safe, which is a good media, and which could be used for urban agriculture, good soil that is safe and free from bacteria or any communicable disease. And ladies and gentlemen, this picture was taken 4 years ago when we had the privilege of having 2 ministers visit the institution to launch it. And I said the proof is in the tasting. Today we are 4 years at the birthday of BAFT, 10 years of UTT, and 60 years of ECIAF. This is the time we need to celebrate, reflect, and rededicate where we came from, where are we now, and where they're directing our course. I want to thank you for listening on this presentation of rededication. And if we go back to the last slide, just for one moment, happy birthday, ECIAF. But I also want to tell you, the next generation of buff burgers will come from ECIAF, of the pristine and prime Buffalo of ECIAF, the National Buffalo Herd of Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bridge Mohan, for a most informative presentation. So today, as we celebrate the Diamond Jubilee, we rededicate the Caribbean agro-industry development. We rededicate the excellence of the products of ECIAF, and we rededicate Agro-Entrepreneurial Campus, BAFT of UTT. Congratulations. Let's hear it for Dr. Bridge Mohan once more. And now we're going to the lighter side, and we have an entertainment feature, a dramatic presentation by the forestry students.
Test.
Morning. Hello. Morning. I am the forester in charge of the area. As you may know, it is the fire season, and we're going around distributing posters to people. Who I could talk to give this poster?
Yeah, man, I see barman here.
All right.
I'll give it out to people who pass by and think now.
All right then.
Morning.
Morning. Hey, Willie, where you going with that cutlass, boy?
Going. Girl, I now come back from Ireland. And see, I'm tired already. Barman, give me something there.
Mama Willie, it's you, boy. What you want, normal thing?
Normal thing. Ah, boy, something to wet my throat. So, ladies, what's the plan for the day?
Boy, Willie, I have a big fat duck. Let me go Cora River to make a lime now.
Well, yeah.
Doctor? Oh, good. I'm in for that. Don't worry, I'm going to bring my dalpiri roti too.
Better yet?
Well, Mabel, last time I eat your duck, it was the bestest thing I ever eaten.
But you're seeing that?
Mabel, you know how long I need a good curry duck, girl?
Will you go pull in between her?
Boy, I have a maniku. I go bring that too.
I chop a goodie the other day. I have it in the freezer. I could bring down that too.
It's Christmas.
Well, will thing now? I'll come down. I'll bring a bottle too. I'll come down by the river and check all But first, here, I'll charge up my garden. I'll go and light a fire midday. Good time to light fire. Right? After I'll come down and check all
Wait. I just hear you going to light a fire in this hot sun, boy.
Yeah, when else you go light it?
You can't do that, boy. I'm sure you don't have a permit either.
Wait, is that something to eat?
No, boy. You don't go and get a fire permit. It's fire season. All you have to do is go down to the fire station, right? And you apply. It's free. The men go come, they go watch your land, make sure it's good and thing, and they go get the permit.
But since I small young boy, so my nanny and nana planting that land, burning it normal, them never had no permit.
Well, according to the Agricultural Fires Act, you need to have a permit. And when you have the permit, the act says, right, you have to pile the bush in a heap and burn it, right? And when you burn it, you have to make sure and watch man the fire. So you take escape now. You see with this high winds too, you can't like that because it can spread fast and burn down people's land. And when you're going, you alone can't go, you alone can't do the work, you have to have other men to help you. And you have equipment too. And when you light the fire, you have to make sure it do get away. And I hear this Miss Mabel say she's going to cook a duck. How are you going to cook the duck, girl?
Well, boy, I'm going to use 3 stones and some firewood. And I'm going to buy the bamboo patch for some shade.
Nah. You clear the spot? I see you are clearing the spot. According to the Agricultural Fires Act, you have to Any person who sets out a fire out of doors for the purpose of cooking shall select a location free from fire free from flammable materials. And you do all the necessary things to make sure this fire don't get away. And when you're done, you have to extinguish the fire. But don't worry, I'm coming for curry rock too. I'm going to make sure the fire go out too.
But officer, you're single or?
Yeah?
Well, you go pull in with me now.
All right. I hear a man say he have a money coup. We name.
Guy officer, my name Harry boy.
But how you can have a money coup, boy?
Officer, I got job a few days ago in my land.
Boy, have this thing called a moratorium, boy.
But officer, ain't a money coup is a pest?
But the moratorium have no exceptions.
What is that?
The moratorium is a 2-year ban on hunting and having wild meat in your fridge. The minister put it because people hunting out all the wild meat. They killing from young to old. So it's like a hand none for the old when the young children get old. I hear next man say you have a goatee. Read it.
Yeah, boy, I had goatee since last year in my freezer.
Wow, still meat?
Since last year?
But since the hunting season was open, I catch a goatee and have it in the freezer.
You can't do that. Even if it didn't have no moratorium. The law says you can't have no wild meat in your fridge at the end of March. That is when the hunting season closes. I gotta call the game warden on earlier because that is our offense. $100,000 all I gotta pay.
Okay, we are blind, officer. We are know nothing.
Yeah, boy, officer.
No. Ignorance to the law is no excuse. The law is the law. Please abide by the law. Thank you.
A fine combination of entertainment and education. Thank you, forestry students, for that presentation. At this point, I have the honor of calling to the podium the president of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, Professor Daya Narayan Singh. Professor Narayan Singh.
Thank you very much, Chair of this morning's proceedings. And I'm sure from what you have heard before, there's very little need to hear what I am going to say, but protocol demands that I actually address you. Quite an informative and entertaining session so far. And President of the Guild, I must say that, I really appreciated your remarks. It's very, very constructive. Our Deputy Chairman of the Board of Governors of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, Mr. Kwasi Mitema, other members of the Board of Governors of UTT, our hardworking Provost, Dr. Fazal Ali, Dr. Puran Bridgemohan, Program Leader of BAFT, and by now you should know the meaning of BAFT, right? Our senior corporate staff and other members of academic staff, specially invited guests, and I want to recognize here two of my colleagues, Professor Carly Pembleton, who's well known in agriculture, and he's a former Dean of the Faculty of Food and Agriculture at the University of the West Indies and head of the Department of Agricultural Economics, and my other colleague from AICA, Mr. Greg Rollins. Very special welcome. Other specially invited guests, members of the media, colleagues, and a very special welcome to our students here at UTT ECIAF. And on behalf of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, I really want to extend a very special welcome to all of you to this, our rededication and interfaith service in celebration, as we heard before, of the 60th anniversary of ECIAF, the 10th anniversary of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, and the 4th anniversary of BAFT. So we have 4 birthday cakes after the end of the ceremony to cut. Colleagues, this function that we are witnessing here this morning is only one in a series of activities which we at the University of Trinidad and Tobago have carded for 2014, a year highlighting our 10th anniversary, highlighting our education and training activities and its impact on socio-economic transformation of our society. And just to give you a snapshot, because it's very important for you to carry the message to our young people, especially our young people. UTT this year have been celebrating programs to indicate to the nation what we are doing in fashion, which is coming up. UTT is known throughout the Caribbean as the #1 institution in fashion design and management, which is one of the future growth poles of our country. Animation, we are #1 in the region. The performing arts, maritime. Just at 31st of January, we launched the Aviation Institute of Trinidad and Tobago, the first of its kind in the Caribbean. Later on this year, we'll be launching the Institute of Finance, not to do traditional finance subjects, but to do what is called BPOs, back processing operations, which is to make Trinidad and Tobago the financial capital of the region. And of course, we are also launching the printing and packaging. I mentioned these simply because to give you an idea of the kinds of skills development that we are charting, skills which are rapidly changing basically by the moment. Nobody can predict the future skills with any certainty. And therefore, as an institution, if we are going to be involved in socio-economic transformation, we have to ensure that we produce the appropriate skill sets, driven by knowledge, of course, if we are going to transform our society. No longer, colleagues, are the traditional skill sets that we are talking about are relevant in today's age. And it's all keeping in the context that as a national university, UTT was established with a particular vision in mind, to be an entrepreneurial university geared to serve as the driver for diversification of our economy. And it's now widespread recognition across the globe that tertiary education is a major driver of economic competitiveness in an ever-increasing, knowledge-driven global economy. The successful economies of the future, and therefore the success of our young people, will be underpinned by a sophisticated entrepreneurial society, driven, as I said before, by a knowledge economy, high technology, infrastructure, political stability, and a skilled and multilingual workforce. We have to ensure that all of these things are incorporated in our training. If we are not multilingual in the future world, then it's best we pack up and go. As such, UTT has 3 critical mandates, and I've been saying this at every function that I've been attending over the last 2 months. It's as part of our 10th anniversary. And I want to repeat them here, and forgive me for being repetitive. Based on what I've said before, UTT has 3 critical mandates as an institution. 1, through our teaching or research and development, produce the appropriate human resource that is needed, not simply in terms of numbers, that's meaningless, but more importantly, with the skill sets required by our stakeholders. Skill sets which are changing literally by the second, and of course being driven by the rapid advances in technology along the superhighway of broadband internet in an interconnected world that is gradually shrinking, where the first person to greet a toddler today in the morning when that toddler gets up, it is not mom and dad. What it is, the gospel according to Google. That is what a toddler meets in the morning. So it's a different society that we have today, and we have to take this into consideration. The second mandate of UTT is that through our research, development, and innovation, and as Dr. Bridgman said, to find solutions to problems. Otherwise, that institution is not worth its salt. And the third mandate, which I have included, is my own mandate, and we are going to ensure that UTT does this, is through our various activities, our research, development, and innovation, keep our people one step ahead of our competitors. We cannot survive if we are not ahead of our competitors. I said yesterday when we launched our Caribbean conference on emerging crimes in the region, perspectives and solutions, we as a nation have to ensure that our protective services is one step ahead of the criminals. Isn't that so? Otherwise, you can't solve the problem. We have to, and how do we keep ahead of it? And remember, it's not static. As you heard before, the Eastern Caribbean Institute of Agriculture and Forestry was established in 1954 as a regional institution with grants from the Colonial Development and Welfare Scheme and the Carnegie Corporation. And listen to what the objective was: to undertake quality training for nationals of Trinidad and Tobago and other Eastern Caribbean states at the sub-professional level in the fields of agriculture, forestry, and agriculture teacher education. And the reason that this was financed by external sources was simply that in the Caribbean region and Trinidad and Tobago, we were supposed to supply the food for the European nations. Isn't that so? The raw material. And therefore, they had to ensure that we had people who are trained in agriculture so that they can get the food they want. But times have changed. So ECIAF, like ICTA ICTA, based on the same principle, was envisioned as a training institution for graduates to easily function productively in an actual farm environment because of the practical training component of its program. And the training offered here at ECIAF was also meant to equip graduates for self-employment or to fill whatever roles their country required. And as we move forward, we have taken this and said that our strategic objective is to ensure that we produce graduates who can go out and create employment, not seek employment. That is the tragedy with our educational system today. We are producing people to go out and what? Seek employment. Those days have gone. So let us wake up as a nation and realize we have to produce people to go out there and create employment, not seek employment. So there are lessons to be learned from the initial vision of ECIAF. Then, from 1964 onwards to the present, the institute, that's ECIAF, operated as a Trinidad and Tobago institution, and as the provost said, this change never interfered with its regional character in relation to function and student intake. And there's another lesson for that no man is an island. And therefore, if we do not partner together by ourselves, we simply do not have the critical mass nor the financial background to make an impact, a difference. And therefore, we need to come together. And it's something which I have been advocating. The time has come for us to be realistic and work towards a common, what I call a single Caribbean intellectual virtual space. There's no other way if we are going to make a difference. And I'd like to repeat that. A single Caribbean educational virtual space if we are going to have any impact in the world at large. And there's no other difference. As you heard, in 1969, they added forestry. And then in 1983, we added the agriculture teacher education. So we were also building an ecosystem, not only agriculture, forestry, and then teacher education. And that, of course, was funded by our Ministry of Agriculture and Land and Marine Resources at that time, Ministry of Education, and UNESCO. And you heard that in 2006, ECIAF was integrated into the University of Trinidad and Tobago. UTT currently offers a number of relevant programs in food and agriculture at the certificate, diploma, and bachelor's level, as well as the postgraduate level, MPhil and PhD degrees. And I want you to just quickly listen, although you've heard it before, some of the programs, and the title is quite revealing. So we have from the certificate, the diploma, the bachelor's, and the postgraduate programs. So what we see is education as a journey where our people can come on the bus, so to speak, or the train, do something, go off, go into the world of work, and come back on the chain. So there must be a seamless journey in our educational ladder. And what we want to do is have not only vertical movement, but also lateral movement. So people from different institutions can move seamlessly from one institution to another if we are going to benefit from the tremendous expenses that are being incurred in training our young people. There's no other way if we don't come together. So we have programs, certificates and diploma programs in food technology, in agriculture, forestry, animal health production and veterinary public health, agricultural engineering. And the one at the bachelor's level, notice we have animal science and technology, biotechnology, crop science and technology, food science and technology, because we want to produce work-ready graduates who can go out there and create employment. Now, these programs were developed with the following strategic underpinnings: to impede the decline of contribution of agriculture to GDP, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Inspire youth to pursue careers in food and agriculture. This is a cultural challenge, and we have to keep working on it. And to enhance the sector's competitiveness in a globalized environment. And overall, to transform the food and agricultural sector to be commercially driven and socially responsible. Now, if we are going to go forward, as the president of the Guild said, and also Dr. Bridgemohan, we have to look at the past, learn from it, and move forward. Because the future is our business, and we cannot remain firm rooted in the past. And first of all, what are the challenges facing a sustainable agri-food sector? And my colleague, Professor Pemberton and Greg Rawlins will know this terminally. It is often referred to in documents as the binding constraints to a sustainable agri-food center. And some of you as students may have heard of the Jagdeo, right, initiative. That's the former president of Guyana, President Jagdeo, because he was the lead person heading this committee, which was examining the binding constraints to Caribbean agriculture and how we move the system forward. And those binding constraints, colleagues, are no different from the binding constraints facing Trinidad and Tobago. They're identical. And what are some of these constraints? We are small island developing states. That's a constraint because we now have limited land masses, isn't that so? Land is not going to expand. Population is increasing, and how do we feed our people? So what must we do? We have to increase productivity. For the same hectare of land, you have to produce 2 and 3 times the amount of food. There's no other way. However we do it, we have to do it. And you see what is happening. I hope we all understand what is happening. The European countries and China have all gone into Africa, and they have acquired extensive land masses to produce food to bring back to their country. They no longer have the land mass, and more importantly, they do not have the water resources that is necessary for agriculture. The next world war will be fought over water. And we have to realize that as a nation, because you cannot have successful agriculture and just adequate water supply. And this is how we have to examine the future for us here at UTT. Dr. Bridgman talks about our wastewater. What are we doing with our wastewater? Recycling comes into play. All of these things must now be incorporated as we move in the new strategic direction for UTT. So small island development state is a serious limitation, and we could do very little about that. Just as an aside, I prefer to talk about not small island developing states. We all hear SIDS, right? Isn't that so? I want to say we have large water developing states. And just think of it, and that will be incorporated into our new vision, because we now have to capitalize on our large water resources. We are looking only at land mass. If your land mass is so small and we have all this amount of water around us, what are we doing with that? Isn't that an asset? and we are not capitalizing on this, and therefore UTT has to take the lead in this. How could we use our water resources to feed ourselves? And it's well known, but how do we think in that way? The second challenge we have in Trinidad and Tobago is the high labor cost. There are no two ways. And therefore, it's almost impossible to survive now, our local farmers, because of competition. And with globalization, we cannot stop the importation of food into the country. And things are coming in from Costa Rica. Let us realize that probably at 1/10 the price that we can produce it here. So where are we? Do we just give up? And therefore, what solutions, Dr. Bridgemohan, are we going to put in place to overcome our high labor costs? There are alternatives. There's a way to do it. Increased productivity could overcome your high labor cost. We have a lack of aggressive breed of innovative, and this is my own word, agripreneurs. You talk about, entrepreneurial university. The word that I coined is agripreneurs, which is agricultural entrepreneurs, right? So we need a new breed of innovative agripreneurs. And that is what you say, UTT is now set up as an entrepreneurial university. We have lost our preferential export markets for agricultural products. Sugar is one of them. And we did not address the problem holistically. So we are still struggling with it. And that's one of the binding constraints. And have we capitalized on that? One of the sad things about agriculture today, Trinidad and Tobago produces the best flavor cocoa beans in the world. We fetch the highest price. I see Professor Pemberton smiling because he was chairman of the Coffee and Cocoa Board. That's a fact. The last price I found was about $6,000 per kilogram, it's 5,000 US, as against bulk cocoa beans, which is just about 3,000, right? Yeah. And yet still our country has not capitalized on that. We're still exporting the few thousand kilograms of beans to Europe. So we do not have aggressive breed of innovative. Just think of it, and tomorrow we can solve that problem. Of course, we also have poor and non-consistent national strategic agricultural policies, and it must be a holistic approach to solving the challenges facing food and agriculture sustainability. We have weak diversification efforts out of our plantation economy. That's a Lloyd Best term. We have inadequate number of appropriately trained human resource, and UTT will be addressing this, because historically emphasis was on export of primary products as against value-added products along the value chain. And I just referred to the cocoa beans. And therefore, but we have to train people to go right down the value chain. And I want to tell you that if we are going to change the concept of agriculture, let us go home and in our homes start it there. Tell our young people that KFC is agriculture. Rituals is agriculture. Mario's is agriculture. That's where the money is. It is not on the production of the poultry. But we stop there, and we are not carrying it along the value chain. And if we carry that message around the place, then we will see the difference, because we have a social problem with respect to agriculture. And our former Minister of Agriculture, when he was addressing us when I was Dean of the Faculty of Science and Agriculture at TWI about 2 years ago, where we had a forum discussion, he said he asked the 51 employees of his unit, the Ministry of Food Production, how many of them will send their children to do agriculture. One of the 51 people working. This is an indictment on us as a society. Food security is considered second to national security by the US and European countries. Second to that. How do we consider food, agriculture, and food security in our country, in our region? Of course, there's also weak intellectual property rights. We have to strengthen our legislation there, otherwise when we come up with new intellectual property, there's nothing here to protect us. lack of financial support for applied agriculture research and development, slow rate of the introduction and support for the application of new technologies, and Dr. Bridgman, we have to address this problem. We have the challenges of environmental stress, which comes with climate change, intrusion of salt water into our aquifers, and of course, in Trinidad and Tobago, our overdependence upon oil and gas economy. All of these things have hindered in one way or the other, agricultural development in Trinidad and Tobago. I can go on to others, thing. There's evidence to show that successful agripreneurs, agri-enterprises are developed through multidisciplinary research teams and university private sector collaboration. And again, this is our new way forward. If we do not have multidisciplinary teams coming together, then our whole approach to transforming the agricultural sector will fail. And UTT is ideally poised to that because we do not have faculties, we do not have departments where you have, that ivory tower approach to education. We have centers, and therefore we'll have people in engineering, people in the environmental sciences, people in maritime science, etc., all of them working together to solve the problems we have in agriculture. So we're going to have interdisciplinary teams, both from the private sector and the public sector, working hand in hand to really address these problems. The universities by themselves cannot do it. The private sector by themselves cannot do it, nor would the public sector. Only when we come together could we address the policies and the challenges facing us as a nation. And this doesn't apply only, colleagues, to agriculture. It applies to every aspect of our development. And the quicker we understand this, I think it's better for us as a nation. So therefore, we need to develop what is referred to as the triple helix model, in which the governments, the private sector, and the R&D institutions play a role towards developing a strategic, forward-looking, knowledge-driven, and technology-based agricultural sector. Our governance model should be changed. It should become increasingly private sector-driven, but with collaboration with the R&D institutions or the innovation centers that can provide the necessary science and technology input to make the industry successful. Governments simply have an important role in providing an enabling environment for private sector investment. We cannot depend upon the government for every single thing. That's a serious weakness. It has to be private sector driven, but using the triple helix approach. Agriculture is a business like any others. And as I mentioned before, agriculture is not different from KFC, Rituals, and Mario's. It's about being able to best satisfy growing consumer market demands. It's about understanding the evolving value propositions and choosing those that best match the capabilities and enablers that exist. And that requires focusing on R&D and S&T strategies that aim to satisfy the consumer wants rather than needs. That is what is driving the market, consumer wants rather than consumer needs. You may think what is good for the customer, but that is not what is driving the market today. It is what they need. And there are a lot of things about that. I'm sure you could talk about when the governor of New York, Bloomberg, right, attempted to cut down the size of the drink, right, that you get in the fast food outlets from 16 ounces down to 8 ounces. Of course, it was shut down. You cannot interfere with the fundamental rights. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, right? Because of obesity. So although we know that they should take less calories into their diet, you cannot legislate against that. The strategic plan of UTT calls for the university, and by extension, the various centers that we have, to be innovative, competitive, and contemporary, deeply rooted in the national psyche, and committed to creating the best possible future for all our stakeholders. This is in keeping with our 3 mandates. And our strategic plan will further call for the centers and institutes and academies that we have to be agile enough to thrive in a dynamic global environment. In fact, we at UTT see science, technology, and innovation and the entire agri-food chain are strategic to a diversified and competitive national Caribbean economy, and hence critical to survival as a region in this fiercely competitive environment. As such, we recognize that we must harness our science, technology, engineering, and innovation, starting with policy and ending with action. We at UTT recognize that the future is our business, and as such, we need to manage the present while embracing the future and releasing the past. And I want to repeat that. We at UTT need to effectively manage the present while embracing the future and releasing the past. However, to do so, UTT and by extension, BAFT and ECIAF need to holistically reposition itself to be better able to enhance its responsiveness to legitimate stakeholder needs and expectations, strengthen capacity in STI, produce the next generation of entrepreneurs and innovators, and maximize the full potential of its present and future human and physical resources. Manage culture change to foster efficiency, effectiveness, and excellence, and accountability at every level, and have mandated Dr. Bridge Mohan to incorporate this into the strategic plan. In closing, brothers and sisters, I want to wish all the staff and students, I'm so happy to see so many of you here, as we celebrate the 60th anniversary of ECIAF, the 10th anniversary of UTT, and the 4th anniversary of BAFT. Let us use the lessons and experiences of the past 60 years to chart a new future for our nation, where food and nutritional security, environmental sustainability, and health and wellness are central to this new future. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, for highlighting the many firsts of this first National University of Trinidad and Tobago, emphasizing the critical mandates of UTT, and for your enlightening insights to the future of education in general and agro-education in particular. Thank you again. Let's hear it for the President. On your programs, we have innovative startup agribusiness presentations. We are going to have two presentations by two of the finalists for the President's Award. So we have our first two agripreneurs coming up on stage, Ms. Patrice Williams and Mr. Gerald Elvis, to do their presentations of the innovative startup agribusiness. Welcome them, please.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All protocols observed. My name is Patrice Williams, and I'm a UTT student of Food Science and Technology. I started my food science journey learning about sustainable food production through the interaction of forestry and agroforestry systems. This exposure heightened my interest in creating value-added products from healthy and local ingredients. The knowledge I gained from being enrolled in the Biosciences, Agriculture and Food Technology Incubator Project has motivated me to develop a product that it is my hope will revolutionize the health food industry. I'm grateful to the teachers and staff here at ECIAF for the support they have shown me. Program components such as entrepreneurship, economics, accounts, and statistics give students an appreciation of the importance of proper financial tracking, cash flows, opportunity costs, and the net present value of an investment, while agroforestry, food chemistry, and human nutrition give students an appreciation of the science of food production. The Incubator Project represents a marriage between the business side and the food science side. The program creates graduates that are well-rounded and capable of adding real value to the food industry and the organizations with which they are employed. It is the ambition and hope of my colleagues and myself that the program continues to develop so that upon graduation, we would be the employers creating more rewarding jobs in food production, science, and technology. Illustrations of the product I developed would be available in the incubator display room. And now I'll pass you over to my colleague, Elvis Gerald, who would give you more details into his project.
Thank you. All protocols observed. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to join you this morning in observance of ECIAF's 60th anniversary. My name is Elvis Gerald, a third-year student pursuing my BSc in Crop Science and Technology. I am from the beautiful island of Montserrat. Thanks. It is both an honor and a privilege to be able to introduce my business plan, which is my Incubator Project. I will just like to give a brief description of my business plan. The business plan covers a period of 5 years. I will start my value-added product in my third year of production. The main components of the business plan includes 1, the executive summary, 2, the strategic plan, 3, management plan, 4, the operational staff plan, 5, plans of operation, 6, marketing plan, 7, financial plan, and 8, the contingency or the backup plan. What is my project is greenhouse tomato production. What is greenhouse production? Greenhouse farming is a modern way of growing crops in an artificial controlled environment that ensure sustainable, that is not susceptible to pests and disease, and also increase crop yields. The size of the greenhouse is 30 feet wide by 90 feet long. And this greenhouse will hold approximately 1,000 plants. The variety of tomato that I will be growing is Beverly, which is an indeterminate variety. Each plant is expected to yield 25 to 30 pounds of tomato and selling at EC, which is Eastern Caribbean currency, of $8 per pound. My main target markets will be hotels, supermarkets, groceries, and restaurants. My business will employ an additional of 2 staff. The staff will include a manager and 2 trained field workers. My establishment cost is approximately EC 342,500 for the initial establishment of production for the first crop of tomatoes. The annual operation cost is $99,085.04. I also conducted a sensitivity analysis for my business plan, where I look at 4 different variables and place them in order of most critical. The first variable I look at was my revenue, which is at 20%, my indirect costs at 110%, then my establishment cost at 114%, and my direct cost at 130%. My revenue is most critical. So to increase my revenue, I can sell my product at a higher price, or I can reduce some of my indirect or direct cost. My financial results. The financial return for the business is as follows. the internal rate of return, or your IRR, for the business stands at 48%. The net present value at an interest rate of 20% stands at 339,539 EC. The benefit cost ratio, or the revenue cost ratio, stands at 1.8. My payback period for this loan will be 2.2 years. This tomato greenhouse business plan is a viable, profitable business venture, which I definitely would like to pursue in the not too distant future. Also, I wanted to do a value-added product from this crop. So my value-added product, which I call tropical fruit paste, is comprised of tomato as the main ingredient, mixed with tropical fruits, namely pineapple, papaya, mango, guava, etc., and spices. It has a very unique flavor, healthy, and very nutritious. I will have someone display in the booth, incubator booth, on your right. Finally, in closing, I would like to take the opportunity again to thank ECIAF and UTT to allowing me to present my business plan. And as I leave ECIAF, I would like to be an entrepreneur where I can establish myself properly, employ workers, and motivate people as I live here. Thanks again, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, who better to provide the endorsement of the excellence of UTT than the students of UTT? Let's hear it for them again. And we'll be seeing more of both of them in a little while. At this point, we move to another entertainment feature. And this time, staff and students do for us a monologue. Let's welcome them.
Some say agriculture is not the key to success, but my friends, agriculture is the key to my car, my land, my house, and that is success. Agriculture is my greatest interest, not yours, but mine. Don't try to degrade me on my option. Where do you think all these fruits and vegetables come from? All these herbs and spices, where do you think they derive from? You trying to tell me agriculture is not the place to be because you know that being a doctor or a lawyer have plenty money? Sit back, relax, let me educate you on my journey. Agriculture is for the poor man, that is for the low-caste gang, who wants to put their hands in the muddy land, who wants to mess with earthworms, man, or the creepy crawly insects that is of no interest for me, a princess. Without agriculture, man cannot survive. Before man arrived, land was derived, so God said, let land be, and after land, vegetation came, you see? After man appeared, finally, you see, God is an agricultural scientist because biology is his accomplice. Please get the gist. Plants are the first trophic level, meaning they provide the food for all other levels. Put that on your shovel. herbivorous, then eat the plant, then carnivorous, eat the herbivorous without a pant. And who is the top carnivore? Yes, man, for sure. And you know, Trini loved a party, so without Agri, there would be no pale out double Salisbury, much less Ponche Nouveau Ciroc or Bacardi. And that, my friends, is my agriculture journey. Thank you.
Excellent. Let's hear it for them again. I am sure that when we leave here, everyone will be convinced that agriculture is the way to go. We will now have a documentary, so I invite you to look at the screens for the documentary on agriculture.
The point of it is to just show you all what actual DNA looks like.
They didn't just tell me, okay, go restrain a cow. They introduced us, told us how to talk to the animals so they know it there. Lecturers actually went into the pens with us before we actually had to do it on our own. I adapted well to, basically waking up early, tending to animals, crops, then going to classes. So yeah, it's not hard to get accustomed to. It's just once you have the passion for it, and it's easy.
Well, back home we don't really have this kind of university back home, so it was good to see a different culture really from here. And at this university you get more hands-on training, practical stuff, which is a good thing. It's a very good program because you have a lot of hands-on training, especially this incubator program. You could do a lot of product development, add value to whatever product you're doing. This morning we bottled some juice, some passion fruit juice. We also make some patties, some fish patty. We incorporate some spices, some herbs into the patty. So then after we did some vacuum seal packs, so we could extend the shelf life of the patties for a longer period of time.
I want to produce health food, alternative food for people with dietary restrictions like myself. So I am focusing right now on flourless pastries, I guess you would call it, breads, cakes, muffins, that kind of thing. I would say jump right in. We, as a society, we need a lot more entrepreneurs. We have a lot of raw materials, raw products that we're not making use of.
I always had a love for science and nature, so here at ECIAF we actually just combined the both and it worked great for me. I'm very interested in starting a poultry farm. We are introduced to farms that entrepreneurs, and they come talk to us and give us pointers as to how to set up a farm and work it properly and to make the best in the shortest time. In future, I want to go into degree, probably master's and probably a doctorate in agri because I love it real plenty.
This is a program, the Bachelor of Science in Biotechnology. It is designed to attract students who are interested in agriculture, biotechnology, genetics, anything that has to do with molecular advances as well. So we do biotechnology for animal health, plant health, and human health. It's a brand new field here in terms of applicability and in terms of adaptability to on-the-field projects. It's not, it's applied science. And because of that, they're very enthusiastic about it. Really and truly, you're limited by imagination and what you could do. It is probably the most innovative and expansive part of agriculture and medical applications of biotechnology.
My name is Vandana Kavito Lucha.
I am Patrice Williams.
My name is Elvis Gerald.
And this is my UTT.
And this is my UTT.
And this is my UTT.
And let me add, this is my UTT. At this point, we're at one of the high points of this day, the President's Award for Innovative Startup Agribusiness. Before I call the President, let me just inform you of the judging criteria and the recipients for the President's Awards for Innovative Startup Agribusinesses. The judging criteria were as follows: 1, innovation and creativity; 2, economic analysis; 3, marketing; and 4, entrepreneurial spirit. All students in the BSc classes from year 1 to 3 pursuing the Incubator Project were considered for this award. From a total of 41 students, 5 were shortlisted for consideration based on the aforementioned criteria. Today, 2 persons receive the awards. You will have met those 2 persons a while ago. First, we have Elvis Gerald, a year 3 student. And he has been rewarded for his work in the development of a business plan for a vertically integrated project in which he plans to cultivate tomatoes under greenhouse conditions and to convert some of his primary produce into value-added products by combining them with selected fruits to form a unique food paste. The outstanding aspects of his work are his ability to expertly use computer modeling to determine project viability and sensitivity, and his creativity in developing new products. The next award winner, Ms. Patrice Williams. She has been recognized for her very rapid development and marketing of unique muffins, which have been specifically tailored to meet various nutritional needs in the society, such as gluten intolerance or the need to lose weight. Patrice stands out because she is a year 1 student who has not only developed exciting products, but is already marketing them to persons on the ECIAF campus, at her home, and even to some of the input suppliers from whom we purchase inputs for the various incubator projects. So now I have the pleasure of calling our president, Professor Diana Reinsing, who will make the presentations to our 2 award winners, Elvis Gerald and Patrice Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis Gerald. Patrice Williams. Thank you, Professor Narayan Singh, and congratulations to our award winners. And now we will have another entertainment feature, an East Indian song. Let's hear it for the performer.
Good afternoon, everybody. Trinidad is the land of chutney, parang and calypso, and people want to hear me chutney anywhere I go. They shut me on the go, boy, they shut me on the go. Born right here in Tobago. They shut me on the go, boy, they shut me on the go. Born right here in Tobago. I thought my chutney would I never survive. I thought my chutney would I never survive. Thank to the UTT, chutney is alive. Thank to the UTT for the big prize. To watch him Maharani, Devi Paisa. To watch him Maharani, Devi Paisa. Shut me on the go, boy, shut me on the go. Born right here in Tobago. Chutney and it is not a lie. I like my chutney and it is not a lie. You could give me chutney until I die. You could give me chutney until I die. Usadinadin, usadinadin, kitinadin, kinadin, kinana. Chadabayo, sabajana baikar, sabakoi sitaramare. Hey, shut me on the go, boy, shut me on the go. Born right in Tobago. Shut me on the go, boy, shut me on the go. Born right in Tobago. When I go to the beach or for a river line, when I go to the beach or for a river line, only people want to hear is shut me all the time. Only people want to hear is shut me all the time. Charlie Dicky, I hear Muna girl, you're bubbling in the sun. You're bubbling in the sun, and you're whining in the sun. You're bubbling in the sun. It's shut me on the go, boy, it's shut me on the go. Born right here in Tobago. It's shut me on the go, boy, it's shut me on the go. Born right here in Tobago. I listen to 103 on the chutney train. I listen to 103 on the chutney train. They giving you the best chutney again and again. They giving you the best chutney again and again. And they juju tade se chamke. Tade se mera jiera. Tade se mera jiera. Tade se mera jiera. Shut me on the go, boy, shut me on the go. Born right in Tobago. Shut me on the go, boy, shut me on the go. Born right in Tobago.
Let's hear it again for our performer. And what a fitting way to bring us to the closing remarks for this event. But before I call on the Deputy Chairman to do the closing remarks, I want you to know that there's going to be a tree planting ceremony and the unveiling of a plaque. And for that exercise, we can't have everybody because the space is not big enough. So just the persons in the first 2 rows will go with the president for the tree planting and the unveiling of the plaque. So at this time, it gives me great pleasure to ask Mr. Kwesi Mutema, Deputy Chairman of the UTT Board of Governors, to do the closing remarks.
Thank you to our orator this morning, Dr. Hazel Gibbs, the PISA. I must say that I'm really glad, really happy I made the choice to attend this function this morning. Certainly it has been one of the most fulfilling functions that I have attended for quite some time. And I told you I made the choice. Yes, I had a choice. The other alternative was to attend a meeting that is being held by our line minister, Minister Fazal Karim, this morning. I must say that I meant no disrespect to the minister, I assure you. But I sat down and contemplated, and I made my choice to come here. One of the reasons, which I'm not very proud to state, but one of the reasons that led to that choice is that I'm as a member of the board, of which I am been for almost 4 years, since 2010, November. It is my first time attending this campus here. Maybe one would say it's an indictment of the board, but nevertheless, I'm very happy to be here. Professor Diana Reinsing, I'm president of the University of Trinidad and Tobago. Dr. Fazal Ali, our provost. Other members of the board who may be present, our senior executives, our vice presidents and other executives, Dr. Puran Brijmohan, program leader of BAFT, to our orator, Dr. Hazeland Dipiza, all other invited guests, our students, particularly, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, all. I think one of the greatest challenges that is faced by this institution is that of overcoming the effects of colonialism on both our educational and our social psyche. That is one of our greatest challenges, one of your greatest challenges. That is manifested very much in the status and the image that is associated with our agricultural sector, both in regards to education and practice, as compared to many other professions and areas of study. Our president earlier in his address gave you the example that the minister gave of speaking to the 51 employees in his ministry, and that of food and production, a ministry that is directly related to the sector. And when he asked those employees, amongst them who will prefer to send their children to study agriculture, only one put up their hand. Maybe if we carry out the same exercise here, the result may not be much different. You may get a little more, but maybe not very much more. And I put that, as I said, to a legacy of our colonial experience, which we are yet to overcome. However, that having been said, I would like to encourage particularly you, the students who are involved in this institution, to pursue your passion and pursue it vigorously. Because in truth and in fact, and very literally, the life of our nation and our region depends very much on what you do, on what you achieve. Make no doubt about it. So I urge you, despite, to pursue your passion. And that is why it gives me great pride to make reference to one of our graduates, Ms. Priscilla Baho, who was a graduate of UTT's Master of Science in Industrial Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and the Management Program, and who is a current UTT postgraduate student pursuing the doctoral degree in Entrepreneurship and Commercial Studies, and who, in an interview, when posed with a question, remarked that her mission was to improve food security by using an innovative approach to reinvigorating the livestock sector of the local agricultural industry. Ms. Bradshaw, who is the daughter of an agricultural entrepreneur, or a farmer, as we may know it, was able to pursue her dream of becoming an entrepreneur right here at UTT. And today she aspires to make her own mark in the agricultural sector as she offers consultancy services to farmers and others in the industry. Ms. Bradshaw is certainly an example of the caliber of graduate that UTT wants to produce. For it is that spirit of entrepreneurship and innovation that will separate UTT's graduates from others who will exit tertiary education. This morning we had two fine and two fitting examples of two students, and they were two of many others who received those awards. In agriculture, passive, moderately active, or very active entrepreneurs can be easily discerned. The more active entrepreneurs have a stronger vision and strategy toward integrated crop protection, lower levels of pesticide use, and environmental burden than their more passive colleagues. In general, there is a strong need to improve the level of entrepreneurship in agriculture. Today's Rededication and Interfaith ceremony in celebration of ECIAF's 60th anniversary is an opportunity for us to reflect on the past, but perhaps more importantly, it is a time for us to look forward, to forecast and plan ahead, to set our vision and our goals, and to capitalize on initiatives that can propel this industry forward. Our farmers, or rather our agricultural entrepreneurs, need to become more flexible and develop strategies to proactively adapt their farm, their product portfolio, their networks, their partnerships, their knowledge systems, their personal skills and competences to change external conditions. Too many have demonstrated uneven abilities to adapt to changes in the agricultural sector. Changing external conditions require high levels of adaptability, and here I want to commend UTT, but more specifically, the administrators of these programs in BAFT, the Biosciences, Agriculture, and Food Technologies at the ECIAF campus, for exposing our students to practical training, as well as to projects and technology that will benefit them in their academic understanding of this field and in their careers that will follow. Especially, and I say this, especially when all of this has been done in very challenging circumstances. Because earlier on, I was given a tour of your campus, and I would say very challenging circumstances, and a lot that needs to be done, that needs to be corrected. And here I must pay tribute to our students who, from what I've seen and what I have heard, we must, as a member of the board and our board of governors, we must thank you for your patience and your understanding to be within those conditions over this period of time and yet be able to excel as you have done from what I have heard here today. Certainly, as Deputy Chairman of our Board of Governors, I take note of the first objective that was mentioned by your president of your student guild, and to which I concur, I agree. And that is the need for beautification of your surroundings. Here, I say to you that our board will do all within its power to ensure that this objective is certainly achieved. I would also like to say thank you to all of you who have contributed to the success of ECIAF, this campus, over the past 60 years. And I am sure that I would not be alone when I say that we certainly look forward to celebrating the work of ECIAF, the work of BAFT, as it is now known, and the university by extension for many more years to come. In closing, on behalf of our chairman, Mr. Curtis Manchun, who is unavoidably absent as he is nursing an injury. He has just been out of surgery and in a state of recovery, as well as the other members of our Board of Governors. I offer our congratulations to you on your 60th anniversary and look forward to providing the support that you certainly need towards achieving that objective and that vision. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Deputy Chairman, for your choice of activity today and for your inspiring closing remarks. We look forward to all the assistance that the board will give to ECIAF and BAFT as we move forward. So thank you once again. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been a wonderful audience. I must, on my own behalf and on behalf of the University of Trinidad and Tobago, thank you for a wonderful morning. We now move to the tree planting and unveiling of the plaque, which is the last activity before we serve you refreshments. So I invite the President and his company to the tree planting. I guess one of the ushers will come to you and guide you. The rest of us will remain until they are finished, and then we will have the refreshments. Thank you very much. Do have a wonderful day.